Hey everyone, and welcome back to the final video of my behind the scenes recording of my song This I Know. I hope you're excited to see the mixing process, just everything I do to get it done. I try not to overburden a mix with too much, just processing and mixing, but I'll show you what I do just to finish a song out. So I hope you're excited to see that. I'm going to jump right over and we're going to get this song mixed and finished. So let's do that now. Okay, so I'm going to start off by condensing these three acoustic tracks into just one track in this mixing window so it makes it easier to see. So if I highlight them all and click Create Track Stack, you have two options here. A summing stack is a way that you can add a plugin and it'll have that affect all of the tracks in it. And a folder stack is just basically a volume control over all of the different tracks in it. So we're going to select that one for right now, and we're going to rename this acoustic guitar. And that will allow us to change the volume of everything that's acoustic guitar, so all three of these tracks together at one time, but it still maintains the fact that those different volume levels were set for each individual track. So now that that's done, we're going to move into actually mixing these different tracks together. So I'm going to mute everything except for the cello track, because what I like to do is start with each individual track on its own and mix it to my ear so that it sounds good to me. So the first thing I'm going to do on this cello track is actually add a waves plugin, which will allow me to change the perception of how wide this sound is. And it's called the S1 Imager, and I'm going to use this a few times throughout this mixing process on different tracks. And all I touch in here is actually the width knob, or sorry, the width fader, and it's going to move this triangle to represent how wide it's going to make this seam in the mix. So once that's set, I'm going to add another plugin as well. And it's going to be from the CLA series, which is also a Waves plugin. This one's going to be unplugged that I use now, but these plugins are actually really easy to use. I'm going to use them a bunch over this mixing process because they give you reverb, EQ, compression, everything that you need. So let's hear what this sounds like before and after. So we're just going to keep moving on through the rest of the strings into this cello portion of the bridge. So I want to just copy what we did on the first cello into the bridge portion. So if we open this window here, this is a mix window, and we hover over the plugins that we've already set in our cello track, and we hold down the Option key on our keyboard, we can actually just drag, like copy and paste exactly as they are into whatever channel we want. So we're going to copy that into this bridge cello portion and hear how that sounds now. Alright, so now we're just going to keep moving through the rest of our strings into this violin and viola, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to copy those plugins into these two instruments as well. So let's hear how those sound. Alright, so now that the strings are done, we can take a look at some of these other channels as well. We have our drums, we got our piano, and we have our pads. And because these are instruments within Logic, they're already mixed pretty well to sound like polished, so I'm not going to do too much at this point in time to change that. I did add this S1 Imager to both the pad and the piano just to spread that out a bit more in the mix and give everything its own space, but that's all I did. Now I'm going to mute the rest of these channels and move on to the acoustic guitar, and we're going to pan two of these channels to begin with. You can just grab this knob and go to the left or the right, and that's just changing what speaker primarily the sound is coming out of. But I'm going to focus not on this MD421, but on these shotgun shells because they were recorded together in one mic. So I'm going to pan those. I found that I like to have the shotgun microphones as if I'm looking at the guitar, so I pan the Soundhold 1 into the left speaker and the shotgun 12th fret into the right speaker, both of them about 35 points, and then left the MD421 straight down the center because I didn't need to pan that one at all. I did also change the stack from a folder stack to a summing stack because I wanted to add some effects on here that would affect all of the instruments without having to put them on each individual track. So if you have a summing stack like this, you can just add a plugin into the stack and it will actually affect everything within the stack. So I'm going to go back to that CLA Unplugged plugin that I was using before, which I already have a preset for acoustic, and then you can hear what that one sounds like. Great, so that's probably the most noticeable audible difference so far in the tracks, but I promise you by the end you'll notice it start to stack up. We're going to move to bass now, where I'll add the CLA bass and set that one so that it just continues to round our bass sound out. Here is the settings that I went with for that, and now we can hear the bass before and after as well. So we're going to keep moving on right into our vocals, where I'm going to add the CLA vocal plugin onto here, and I have a preset already set for that, so I'll put that on. But keep in mind that any of these can be changed. Like, I can go and edit these at any point in time, so this is just trying to get a rough first draft basically for these before I mix it all together. So let's check it out now.
And I know that I don't know everything.
So now that vocals are done, we can keep moving on with our mixing and actually start mixing tracks together. So I'm going to mute this lead vox track and then start looking at the tracks that have all of the low frequency information in it. So when I'm mixing, I want to try and divide this up and make sure that things aren't sitting on top of each other and getting in each other's way. So we have like our bass track, we've got our piano track, we have our pads as well. Pianos because of the left hand, and then we've got our cello track, and we even have drums for the kick drum. And one thing I did find when I was mixing this is that our cello in the bridge was getting in the way of the bass, so I just did some EQing to keep it out of the way so that they each have their own space to work with. And then the other thing that I did was I actually separated all of the drums. So I put kick, tom, snare, cymbals, each on their own track, so I can mix those separately if I need to. Let's check out the low information tracks before and after now. Okay, so now that that's done, we're actually going to make a stack for these drums just to make it look a little cleaner. So we'll create track stack after highlighting them all and make this a folder stack. We just need to be able to control volume. I'm going to label this drums. But we just need to be able to control volume on these tracks, since each of these tracks has their own individual plugins anyway. So that's set up now. The volume will control all of those together. And then we can switch over to looking at all the mid and high information and mixing those tracks together. So we have acoustic, bass we can mute. The piano has the right hand that we'd be looking at. We'll mute a few of these other bass focused frequency tracks, and then we can open violin and viola, plus drums has snare and cymbals. So let's see the before and after we mix this one. So now we've got the low information done, we've got the high information done, now we can mix everything together. And we're just trying to balance this out so that it sounds good and level as one cohesive mix. Now we can move into this. This button up at the top is for automation. Automation, if you see these little indicators here, you have a bunch of different things that you can automate, but we're going to stick with volume. And what that's going to allow us to do is to change the volume within the song. So if I click here a random spot, I can now adjust that spot up or down, and it will make the adjustment on its own without me having to control that as the song's playing. So I'm going to set this whole thing and automate it, and you'll be able to just see the adjustments that I made. Even in like this vocal track, sometimes between words you may have a weird sound, like something that's coming from your mouth or in the room, and you want to change those and just pull them out. So you can automate all of that. So I'll show you what I've done here for my automation on this particular mix. So you can see here that I've pulled out some of the spots in the vocal track that weren't working. I pulled down the piano and the acoustic in the bridge portion because they were a bit too loud there. And I even tailed off the acoustic at the end of the song. But now we actually get to check out the song before and after with it all mixed, so I hope you enjoy.
I don't know, let me trust that you know everything. 'Cause I don't need to know to trust in what you can do. One thing I know for sure is my God who does. Yes, this I know.
We are done. Finally, this song is finished. It is ready to go. I'm so grateful that you've been here with me along this journey, that you've been watching these videos. I hope that you've really enjoyed them and just been able to see how I work through all of this. I'm gonna put out a video with the full recorded track on it, and then even look into maybe distributing this track as well on some platforms that you're familiar with. But just stay tuned for all that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll see where this goes. But again, I'm so thankful that you've been here watching these videos, and I hope that you've enjoyed them. So thank you so much, and as always, love you guys.